Hey everyone, it's Aldo at Kixie, and today I want to walk you through a very popular solution, one of my favorites. It's how to build a Kixie call counter inside of HubSpot CRM. So the use case is I want to keep track of the number of calls that I make to a given contact, and what we can do is create a field inside of HubSpot that actually counts the number of times a Kixie call has been made to or from the contact and put it there. So the way this works is in HubSpot, we're going to start out by creating a field. A custom field. And you can really call it anything you want. I like to call it the Kixie call counter. Pretty straightforward and self-explanatory, but anything that makes sense for you. And we're gonna make this a number field. And so if I pull it up over here, you can see here's my Kixie call counter. I also have a Kixie SMS counter where I track the number of SMS that we're sending or receiving from customers. And so let's talk about how we can actually use Zapier to power this solution. So first things first, let me show you how the Zap is set up. So we're gonna use Webhooks by Zapier. And for those of you who don't know, when you select that trigger, Zapier is going to provide you, a webhook URL endpoint. So this is an endpoint. I copy it over here. I go into Kixie. This is our best section of the platform. It's our webhooks. So I'm gonna paste this endpoint that Zapier has provided to me. And basically what I'm saying to Zapier right now is every time a call happens on Kixie, so I'm using this event name endCall, every time a call wraps up, I want to send all the Kixie information to this Zap. And so this endpoint is kind of linking my Kixie account to this specific Zap that I'm running. And look at all this information that we send you. The customer's number, the Kixie phone number, the direction of the phone call, the status, the email address of the Kixie agent who took the call, the Kixie agent's name. But the most important piece of information is this guy right here. You can't see it that well, but I'm gonna highlight it for you. This is the CRM contact ID. So this is the contact ID from HubSpot for the person that I just gave a call to. So that's great. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this contact ID and I'm gonna use HubSpot's Zapier action step to find a contact by that ID. So the way I configure this, I select find contact in Zapier. And I'll show you what that looks like really fast, just for those of you who've never done it before. I come over here, I select HubSpot, that's great. If you haven't already connected your HubSpot account to Zapier, that's a really quick step. The action that I'm gonna select is find contact. And what that's gonna basically do is say, give me the contact ID and I'll look up all of its information for you, which is cool. And that's what we need to do. So I'm just gonna delete this guy, I already have it set up over here. And so I go to configure and I plug in the contact ID, I'm kind of mapping it. So I click over here, this little plus sign. So now I'm looking at all that Kixie data that I just showed you, including that contact ID. I find the contact ID, here it is, and I plug it in over here, which I've already done. So I just click this guy, and now you can see it appears twice, but I don't want it twice. And that's fine. And I do need to search, let's see here. Nope, I don't need to search by a property name. And when I do test, I'm gonna test it. And what's gonna happen is it's gonna get me all of the information about this contact and it's gonna show it to me. And that way I'm gonna be able to find the call counter, which is currently set for 1. So let's go over here, call counter. It's not gonna filter it out for me. There it is. Kixie call counter is set for 1. So that's the number right now. So what I want to do is I want to tick this call counter up by 1 every time a call finishes. So I come over here. This is a really useful tool. This is formatted by Zapier, and the event that I'm gonna select is numbers. So if I configure this, the operation I wanna do, you can see I can add, subtract, multiply, divide, make negative, do a bunch of number stuff, do a bunch of math stuff. So I wanna add, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this field over here. So if the number of Kixie calls was like 11, I want 11 right here. And then I wanna add 1 more. And look at what I'm doing over here. I'm also adding a 0. There's a reason for this. There's 2 ways you can handle this situation that I'm about to walk you through. One would be to like build some workflow in HubSpot or create some rule where every time someone has a Kixie call counter field and if that field is empty, set it to 0. If it's empty. You could do it that way, or you could do what I'm doing here, which is a little bit of a cheat. So if I had like no value in this Kixie call counter field, and then I try to add 1 to this no value, the operation will actually fail because it's gonna be 1 plus nothing. You would think that it would just make it 1, but it won't. So I wanna add this 0 here. So now it's 1 plus 0 plus whatever is here. That way, if this guy is null, I can still add 1 plus 0 and get 1. But because this guy is 1 right now, let's find out what happens. All right, 2. Yeah, so 1 plus 1 equals 2, which is great. So now I actually want to update the contact record. So now that I have the math operation and I know how many calls I've made to this contact right now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use Zapier's HubSpot integration to update a contact. So just like earlier, I type in HubSpot, I select my action event, and it's update. So I wanna update contact information. And then I select my account, etc. But we don't need to do that, I've already done it. So now what I wanna do is I wanna update specifically the call counter. So I have it right here, Kixie call count. So Kixie call counter. So I wanna take the output from the previous step where we added 1 + 1 and got 2, and I wanna actually update my call counter field right here so that it becomes 2 instead of 1. So what I do is I map it, I want it plugged in right here, I click continue, and I can test it out and I'll show you what it looks like. Once we're done, and the call counter ticks up to 2. So this is really useful because now we actually have a field in HubSpot that's tracking the number of times that a phone call is made to the contact, and we can do all kinds of stuff with it, like build HubSpot reports around how many times the contact has received a phone call. If you want to trigger a workflow that would fire every time that property changes, or if you want to wait for a contact to reach a certain number of phone calls and then trigger a workflow, that's a really useful way to handle that. And this is just a way for you to track your calling and SMS efforts to agents. And you can do more with it than that. You can track whether the most recent phone call was inbound or outbound. There's a lot of different things that you can do because we include a lot of data over here, like I was showing you before. So if you have any ideas on what kind of use cases or solutions you'd build using the call data that we send in Kixie into HubSpot, I'd love to hear about it, and stay tuned for more use cases. Thanks.